and you can open your eyes. 1, 2, 3, open your eyes. All right. This tells me that you are highly suggestible. I was,
I thought it was
and
gonna fail because I was like super self-conscious, the fact that I'm recording myself and all of that. And as
you
soon
know,
because I felt it and I was already smiling like so quick, that's so fast.
why I wanted to learn hypnosis. It was never really, my intention was never really to want to help people. It was really just for to like just use it as a show and
Yeah,
and level up my magic, you know?
yeah.
I'm gonna clarify in a sec that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. I'm not actually doing anything. The individual is the one putting himself into a hypnotic state. I'm simply the guide. If I can guide you to this state where you believe that your hand is stuck to this wall and you can't unstick it, then what's the difference? I can help you get rid of your stress levels, or I can help you get rid of your phobia that you've had for a lifetime. The analytical mind only dominates about 5% of our behavior. Then we have what's called the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind is basically the true software of this computer. And there is our belief systems, our core values, our paradigms, our limiting beliefs, our behavior patterns. That's really where the entire framework of who we are is stored. I've had people that have gotten rid of chronic pain that they've had their whole life, back pain, leg pain, migraines. And people come to me several months later and be like, hey, I did this hypnosis session with you and like, I haven't felt that pain in my back ever since. And it's like, how crazy is that, man? You're simply being guided by the tone of my voice and by the visual and this focal point right here. And so what happens there is that your brain waves begin to change from alpha to beta to gamma and to theta. The subconscious has no filter. It will absorb whatever you give it at any given point. So you have to be very mindful and very careful of what you feed it. I can get somebody in a hypnotic state, what's called an instant induction. And I love the handshake induction where you reach somebody's hand and you say sleep, boom, and they just they fall, and then immediately you're basically shocking the conscious mind and just going straight into the subconscious mind with
So that is
these
possible just to
hypnotic.
shake someone's
It's
hand.
yes.
And is it possible for
Well,
hypnosis to go wrong, or are there any side effects? If people want to hire a hypnotherapist, how can you discern someone who's legit and someone who's not?
the easiest way to understand hypnosis is having your mind extremely.
Alrighty, everyone. Today I am interviewing Hermes Noguera, a professional hypnotherapist, an NLP coach, and a longtime friend. And I wanted to interview you because for the last couple years, I've realized how you can literally change so much about your own mind that I never thought it was possible, and how even as if you was a computer, you can change yourself and your brain, like the software itself, in a way that allows you to operate in a way that's more conducive towards your goals. And one of the ways in which you can do that is hypnosis, right? As a hypnotherapist. Now, what I have in mind for this interview is to first talk about your background, how you got into this world, how you learned this, and some of the scientific explanations of hypnosis. And then you can try to do a little bit of hypnosis on me.
That's right. Cool, man. Amazing. Well, first of all, thank you so much, pal, for having me on board. Super happy to be here. And I love your channel. I love everything that you talk about. And I think this is going to be a great topic that lots of people probably have lots of misconceptions about hypnosis. And I'm just kind of here to kind of clear up the fog and all the smoke as to all the ideas of like, well, is it mind control, right? Or can they make me say things that I don't want to
Yeah.
say or do things that I don't want to do, right? So happy to be here, and yeah, man, let's get started.
So the first thing that I would love to know is how did you become a hypnotherapist, and what was the moment that it clicked for you? Because I believe when we learn things that we don't know, there's a moment when things just click and it's like, okay, there's actually something to this, because at first you thought that maybe it was BS.
Yeah. So, okay, I'm gonna come right out and say that my mother is a hypnotherapist
Okay.
and my grandfather was a hypnotist. Okay, so it kind of runs in the bloodline. And one of the things I guess you could say naturally that's kind of how I fell into it because, I was kind of raised on it, and it was perfectly normal for me. When I went to school and the teachers asked me, "Oh, what does your mom do?" And I'm like, "Oh, she does hypnosis." And everyone's like, "What the heck?" And especially in like Latin culture, people think that's like witchcraft,
Right.
right? Brujeria. So, it was kind of normal for me. And to be honest, like as a kid, I was really into magic. I was always doing like card tricks, and I wanted to learn how to, like make this card disappear and show up somewhere. And I was driving everybody crazy with this whole magic stuff. And as I got older, um, I wanted to level up that magic, right? And just take it like a bit further. So I started getting into like mentalism and doing things where like you can read people's minds and whatever. And then the next logical step after that was just kind of hypnosis, right? Where it was like, well, I want to take things a little bit further because I used to see all these like show magicians that would incorporate hypnosis into their show, and they would make people forget their name and stick their hand to a wall and they couldn't unstick it,
Hmm.
and start acting all differently, playing imaginary instruments and all that. And I was like, that is fascinating. Like to me, like that's real magic.
Hmm.
And so um I started wanting to learn hypnosis, not so much for the therapeutic aspect of it, but more for like the show aspect where I could be like, okay, like let me see if I can stick your hand to this table, or if I can make you forget your name, or like if I can make this AirPod case the most heaviest thing in the world where it's impossible for you to lift it,
Yeah.
right? And so that was kind of like my segue as to why I wanted to learn hypnosis. It was never really my intention was never really to want to help people. It was really more just for to like just use it as a show and
Yeah.
and level up my magic.
Yeah. 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 And how do you do the transition? So, like, I guess along the line, you realize, like, okay, there's way more to this than just putting
Yeah.
on a show. I can
Yeah,
actually help people.
of course. So of course, I have we have an online school of alternative medicine, and my mother, after she did 25 years of just hypnotherapy and helping people. And after that, she actually went. She decided to open up an online school. And right around the time that we met, Pal, we were doing online e-commerce and all
Yeah.
that. So through all of that, I learned how to build websites, how to do marketing, email marketing, and all this stuff. So she asked me to come on board and was like, "Hey, why don't you help me bring my business off the ground? You're kind of doing this. COVID was happening. All of my e-commerce stuff was just going down the drain." And I hopped on the business with her, and then it just pretty much came naturally. We started giving in-person courses, and before I knew it, I was just kind of like I became a co-trainer, and I was helping train hypnotherapists. And then it just kind of like developed into this whole thing. People started seeking me out because they saw that I was teaching it, and they say, okay, well, can you help me with my stress? Can you help me with my anxiety, with my phobia and all that? And it just, honestly, it just really came naturally to me. But I will admit that what gave me the true confidence of 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 knowing that I can help people was actually through the entertainment factor, because at one point I was very uh, I had kind of this imposter syndrome,
Hmm.
right? Where I was like, well, who am I to help this people with their stress levels, right? Like I have my own stress levels, right? Like who am I to help them? And how can I possibly help this person change? That was like my imposter syndrome. And then I turned to the entertainment hypnosis, and it's a lot more lighthearted, right? So when I started doing a little bit of show and like saying like, oh, okay, like this person's hand, your hand is stuck to the wall and you can't unstick it, right? And it gave me that extra confidence where I was like, well, wait a minute, if I can make you do this, right? And you believe me to the point because I'm going to clarify in a sec that all hypnosis is self-hypnosis. I'm
Mm.
not actually doing anything. The individual is the one putting himself into a hypnotic state. I'm simply the guide. If I can guide you to this state where you believe that your hand is stuck to this wall and you can't unstick it, then what's the difference? I can help you get rid of your stress levels, or I can help you get rid of your phobia that you've had for a lifetime. So it just came hand in hand, and everything just kind of clicked to the point where I was like, okay, maybe I can take this a little bit more seriously and start helping people with a lot more um, in a therapeutic manner, right?
Right, right. Okay, so maybe we could go into a very good definition of what hypnotherapy is by you, a
Yeah,
professional, right? Because we have all
yeah,
these misconceptions about exactly what it is. So,
yeah. So I think the easiest way to understand hypnosis is having your mind extremely focused on one thing, okay? Because here's what's going on. Our mind is divided in two parts, and you probably know this. There's the conscious mind, and then there's the subconscious mind,
mhm,
right? The, the conscious mind is what's going on right now with you listening to me. You're analyzing, you're rationalizing, you have all these logistics going on, and you're listening intently, right?
hmm,
So that's the analytical mind. But the analytical mind only dominates about 5% of our behavior. Okay? Only 5%. Then we have what's called the subconscious mind, right? And the subconscious mind is basically the true software of this computer. And you mentioned it earlier, and you took the words out of my mouth because that's the perfect analogy to describe the subconscious mind. It's the software behind the scenes, and there is our belief systems, our core values, our paradigms, our limiting beliefs, our behavior patterns, etc. Right? So that's really where the entire framework of who we are is is stored and then displayed by obviously our behaviors by the things that we say and what we do. So the simplest definition for hypnosis is bringing this person to a focused, enhanced state of focus where we can bypass the conscious analytical mind and go straight into the subconscious mind where all the magic happens, right? And as a hypnotherapist, my job is to, once I access the subconscious mind, use what we call hypnotic suggestions, right? And hypnotic suggestions are no different than, let's say, affirmations, positive affirmations, right? But when you talk directly to the subconscious mind, what you're doing is you're not eliminating, because you can't eliminate anything in the subconscious mind. The same laws of physics apply to the metaphysical. Energy cannot be created nor destroyed. Thoughts, behavior patterns cannot be created nor destroyed, but they can be transmuted, right? And they can convert, and we can replace them with better belief systems, right? That will then help you approach your life in a much different manner,
right,
right?
right.
So, and whatever we're trying to resolve in that current point in time, whether you're just trying to have a little bit more of a emotional intelligence, not overreact on certain things, or simply work on a lifelong phobia of spiders that you've had, right?
Mhm.
So when we go in through these hypnotic suggestions, you're kind of giving this person new affirmations and rewiring that belief system so that the next time that this person is under this major stress levels, their subconscious mind will no longer find the old behavior patterns that they're used to and will now search for the new behavior patterns that the hypnotist has given. Does
Right.
that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Okay, I have so many questions.
Oh,
Uh,
so it's like it's literally like um like you are the programmer of your
Right.
own subconscious mind,
Yeah.
right? The hypnotist simply allows you to access the code, the
Right.
framework, so that then you can rewrite that script, right? So you can have a different outcome.
Right. That was gonna be my first question. Like, what is exactly happening? How do you go from the surface level of the conscious to the subconscious? Like, what is exactly happening there? How do you
Yeah.
do that?
So from a scientific point of view, when we are in this analytical mind, okay, our brain waves are in alpha, okay, and alpha, which is the shortest wavelength, right, which is when we're focused and we're trying to analyze and rationalize what's going on in our surroundings, right? Now, with hypnosis, and you've probably seen this, lots of people have seen this where, you'll have somebody just kind of like dangle a pendulum, right?
Hmm.
And their voice will change
Mm-hmm.
and guide this person, right? And so the reason hypnotists do this, okay, is because they're trying to change your state and lower your, and excuse my cat,
It's okay.
she's a showman. So um the reason hypnotists do this is because they want to distract the conscious mind,
Hmm.
right? And the way that we distract that conscious mind is through music, right? We can have a little soft piano music playing on in the background. We can use our hypnotic voice, right? In which we can capture your attention
Hmm.
and let you kind of just flow with the sound of my voice. And then we can also use visual objects such as a pendulum, right? Or you've seen the when they wave the clock or
Right.
something, or we can just have somebody say focus on a specific point. Like for example, if I tell you, Paul, just focus on this corner right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And don't worry about anything else. Simply focus on that. What I'm doing, and you can snap out of it now, but what I'm doing there is I'm simply guiding your attention into a singularity. And when I do that, everything else shuts off, right? You're not thinking about what I'm going to have for lunch. You're not thinking about what's happening in front of you, what I'm saying. You're simply being guided by the tone of my voice and by the visual and this focal point right here. And so what happens there is that your brain waves begin to change from alpha to beta to gamma and to theta, right? And when these brain waves are changing, once you're in the theta state, your conscious mind is off, right? And theta, by the way, is when we sleep, we're in theta, okay? So you want to guide that person into that frequency of brain
Right.
waves, right? That's when the subconscious mind is fully open and
Right.
aware and and permitting and susceptible to hypnotic
Right.
suggestions,
Right. Right.
right?
Okay.
So that's what's happening.
That's why lucid dreams are so interesting, I guess, then, because you're living in your subconscious, right? If that's the
Of
theta.
course.
Right.
Of course,
And
and the language, dreams is another thing which is I'm fascinated by
yeah.
dreams, but the language of the subconscious mind is through metaphors, right? When we dream in visuals,
Hmm.
right? We dream and we see an ocean, but that ocean, the meaning of that ocean could represent your emotions, right? And then we see a mountain, and that mountain can represent your own personal power,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so that's what's happening in our dreams, and there's something beautiful going on when we dream, because it's our subconscious mind putting all of our thoughts into a visual metaphor,
Hmm.
right? Because that is the language of the subconscious mind. That's how it communicates with the logical mind.
Right. 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 And before you were mentioning how once you do this, you can change it so that the brain, instead of using that old pattern, that old code, it can use this new, more positive code for whatever it is that you want. But do you remove 100% of the previous beliefs that you used to have, or this new
No.
imprint of, okay, so it's
Yeah.
temporary then, or how does that work?
No, you don't, you can't, you can't actually remove belief patterns,
Hmm.
okay? But you can replace them, right? And you can get this person to believe, because everything is based on belief systems,
Hmm.
right? And so we can get this person to believe that a spider is no longer a threat to you because you are so much bigger than it, right? It can't actually harm you. It can't, I mean, well, depending on the species of spiders,
Yeah.
obviously, but like, but I'll give a better example. Like people have phobias, legit phobias on cockroaches.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I don't think there's ever been a case in the history of humankind where a cockroach has actually killed a human,
Yeah. Right.
right? So, so it's an illogical
Yeah.
phobia to have, right? Because there's no reason behind it. It's pretty much just pure disgust that we have towards the actual cockroach. So what we can do with hypnosis, right, is we can change that belief system of the person to not have that kind of disgust, understand that they are much bigger than this cockroach, right?
Hmm.
Understand that no one has ever been killed by a cockroach, right? So it's kind of just replacing these old beliefs patterns, because it could be that this person, when they were 5 years old, a cockroach landed on their neck. And by the way, this happened to me not with a cockroach but with a frog, and for a long time I had fear of frogs
I think you
because a
told me about
frog
that in Bali. Yeah.
landed on my neck, and I would freak out about
Yes.
frogs, right?
Yes.
Now I don't have that fear anymore.
Yeah.
But that created an event, right? That was so traumatic that it was stored in your subconscious mind.
Right.
Now you equate cockroach or frog into danger and panic,
Right.
right? And so you don't really have a reason why you act this way other than the fact that this event in your life happened. And so X equals Y,
Hmm.
right? So what we're trying to change is that paradigm of X equals not Y, but Z. We're just replacing that Y
Right.
with something else.
Right. Right. And are the effects permanent? Like once you do that replacement, does that stay there forever, or it's maybe like 6 months, 1 year?
Yeah, so it depends on the person, to be honest, and what we're working with, all right? I've worked with people who have quit smoking altogether permanently. Well, I mean, for years now, and they still haven't
Hmm.
touched the cigarettes. Um, and I've worked with people who stop for a couple months and then they get back into it. Honestly, it depends on the level of commitment of the person, right? And their surroundings, the kind of environment that they're in. You know, there's people who have been lifelong smokers that um, really want the change because they want to live a healthier life. They want to be there for their children and their grandchildren, and their why is a lot more powerful, right? Whereas other people, they just want to quit smoking because they know it's bad for them and they don't want to like spend so much money anymore on cigarettes, right? And so their why is not as powerful, and they end up kind of falling into the same patterns because they weren't doing the necessary work to reinforce these hypnotic suggestions. Now, I'm not saying that you always have to reinforce what's the hypnotic suggestions during the session, but if you're the type of person where your environment, you're around people who are constantly smoking, right?
Right.
It's going to be hard to not cave into the
Yeah.
into the into this habit if your personal why isn't strong enough,
Right.
right?
And is it possible for
Or
hypnosis to go wrong, or are there any side effects?
no, hypnosis is a natural state. By the way, we all of us we go in and out of hypnosis on a daily basis, right? It's just that people don't really understand. Has it happened to you, Paul, where you are driving somewhere and then all of a sudden you get there and you didn't even notice like the
100%.
time it took? Okay,
Yes. Yes.
because you're on automatic.
Yeah.
right? You're on automatic and your body knows exactly where to go and how to do it, right? And so
Yes.
you're not really thinking about it. You're not thinking about it because your conscious mind isn't really necessary to be participating at that very moment because you're on automatic. So that itself is a state of hypnosis, right? We get into hypnosis by watching TV. This is one of the reasons why I believe TV is so bad for you because
100%.
because it's actually guiding you into a hypnotic state. It's getting all of your focus, all right? And and by the way, TV itself is not bad for you. It's just what the
Yeah,
media and
exactly.
what all these people are feeding to
Yeah.
you, right? Which is if you're watching something helpful, like if somebody's watching your videos, then
Yeah.
obviously
No, 100%. Yeah.
it's positive, right? But the majority of the crap that's out there is really just meant to
Yeah.
instill fear on you, right? And
I make the same argument with music. I made this video like music is making you
I
stupid. Obviously, I'm not
I
saying all
heard that.
music, but nowadays most music is crap. You listen to the garbage that they're feeding you with the lyrics.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
horrible. And as
And
far as
can
I
you
know,
imagine?
and as far as I know, the subconscious has no filter, right? Everything that you put in front of
No
it,
filter.
it's going to absorb it.
Can you imagine, Matt? Like and I live here in Miami, okay? I live downtown, right where like the center of it all happens, right? And here, you walk around and everyone around has some sort of relationship problem, right? You walk down the streets and you hear guys walking and they're all just talking about the girls, and the girls you hear talking about the guys, right? And they have some sort of problem.
Yeah,
Why? Because the culture here, all they
exactly.
listen to is Bad Bunny and reggaeton.
Yeah,
And those songs, what are they talking about? Cheating,
yeah.
sleeping with other people, broken hearts,
100%.
and they're
100%.
feeding that kind of stuff, and it becomes this
Yep.
loophole. And the worst part is that people are unaware of it,
100%.
because they sit there and they literally meditate on these lyrics that have zero value towards your
Yes,
life,
yes. Even all these
right?
podcasts and all these TV shows online nowadays, where they interview all these OnlyFans girls, it's the exact same stuff. Like you're just feeding yourself this toxic reality.
Exactly. Exactly. So the subconscious, you hit the nail on the head. The subconscious has no filter. It will absorb whatever you give it at any given point. So you have to be very mindful and very careful of what you feed it,
Right.
because the stuff that you consume is what you will then portray towards the world.
100%. 100%. So this leads me to a question that I wanted to ask you, which is you can do hypnosis on yourself just by choosing what is it that you consume. But I'm guessing these hypnotic techniques, I guess you can also do something more advanced in which you do it to yourself, or you always
Yeah.
need some sort of guide like you to get the most out of it.
Not necessarily. There is something called self-hypnosis. And all hypnosis is self-hypnosis, like I
Right.
mentioned in the past, right? Um, you don't necessarily need a guide. A guide just kind of helps you open that door and and grab your attention and bring it to where it's necessary in your subconscious mind. However, if you do have the patience, okay, and the discipline for it, then it's totally possible to do self hypnosis. It requires um, patience, discipline, and for you to sit alone in a comfortable place where you won't be distracted. What you can do, one of the things that you can do is you simply, like I mentioned on the corner of the frame, you just look at one focal point and you concentrate on that, letting everything else around you simply just fade out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can work your own, let's say, phobia or stress management. I use stress because people find me. Stress is huge everywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And many of my clients come to me because of stress related issues. Um, and so if you focus, you can give yourself these hypnotic suggestions. For example, you always have to speak in the present term to the subconscious mind. Why? Because in the subconscious, time itself is not a realm, right? Past and future, are not concepts that the subconscious mind understands.
Right.
The conscious mind understands it, right? Because it tries to figure out what's going to happen
Yeah.
in the future and rationalize what our behaviors are based on what's happened in the past, right? But the subconscious itself, time and space is not a thing. So you always have to speak to it in a present moment, right?
Right.
And so you can say these affirmations. This is why affirmations are so powerful. It's basically the same thing. You're saying, I am worthy of success. I am fit. I am capable of achieving my goals. I can manifest and utilize my creative power to bring to me all the things that I desire in my life, right? And so all of these positive affirmations, right, are no different than hypnotic suggestions, but the difference is that you start doing those, you've already slowed down your brain
Right.
waves and transferred over from that alpha state into that gamma slash theta state, right, where your subconscious mind is more open and receptive to receiving these affirmations. Because here's the thing here, and here's the kicker, and I'm guilty of this too, where I can sit down and I can read all these affirmations off of my computer screen, right? And I can, okay, I bring money to me. I am good. I have an affirmation right here on my phone. It says, the universe is abundant. Therefore, I am abundant. All my needs are met. Now, do you think that by me just reading what I read here is going to make an effect in my life? Not right now, right? Because I'm using my analytical mind to
Right.
explain this concept to you. So I'm not actually believing the words that are coming out of my
Yeah.
mouth, right? But if I can get myself in a hypnotic meditative state, right, and I repeat this affirmation, then my subconscious mind will start to believe it,
How long
right?
does it usually take that to get into that state in which you can then work on the affirmations?
Okay. So I can, when I have clients, okay, and there's two versions. It's very interesting. Um, when I have clients that come to me for hypnosis sessions, um, it can usually take 5 minutes
Mm-hmm.
for me to guide this person um, from an alpha state to a much more deeper relaxed state. All right.
Okay.
Depends if I've built rapport with the person, if they know me, if they feel comfortable, the environment that we're in. You know, there's different factors. When I do show hypnosis, right, I can get somebody in a hypnotic state in what's called an instant induction. And I love the handshake induction where you reach somebody's hand and you say sleep, boom, and they just, they fall, and then immediately you're basically shocking the conscious mind and just going straight into the subconscious mind
So that
with
is
these
possible just to
hypnotic.
shake someone's
It's
hand.
Yes. Now there is a little bit of prepping that needs to happen,
Oh, okay.
right? Because one, it's not like I can just go up to any stranger on the street, and be like, "Hey, but how's it going? Sleep," like they're gonna be like, "What the hell are you doing?" Um, but if the person already comes to me knowing that I'm a hypnotist, right,
Mm,
and knowing that I've done this before,
right.
and their expectations are that, hey, something weird might happen. They already come
Right. Yeah.
with that preconceived notion, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they're a lot more susceptible to
Right.
it.
Right.
And so that's what I mean by prepping. Um, when I do these kinds of things, whether I'm doing my sound healing or my facilitating my breathwork sessions, I like to give people an idea or give them a certain expectation of what's about to happen,
Hmm.
right? Because then I'm, in a way, hypnotically implanting this this um this result or this expectation,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so by the time they come to me, and when I teach this in our hypnosis courses, by the time they come to me, they're already predetermined to do whatever I'm about to do, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
it's very easy for me because all hypnosis is self hypnosis. I'm not actually putting it's their willingness to
Yeah.
cooperate and follow my instructions is what's putting them in hypnosis.
Yeah.
And especially when they know that I'm trying to do something positive for them, because of like one of the rules I have is when I do hypnosis to a person, leave them better than the way they came to me, right? That's my
Right.
number one rule. And that's what I want everybody to understand, that when they come do some sort of session with me, whether it's therapeutic or whether it's just for fun, that they're going to leave feeling better than when they originally got to me,
Exactly.
right? So, so yeah, all hypnosis is self hypnosis, and yes, that is totally possible. Like I don't want to discredit show hypnotists, because what they're doing is real. But what people have to understand is that they're not controlling people's minds, right? It's the very
Right.
it's those participants and their willingness to cooperate with the hypnotic suggestions of the magician,
Right.
or the hypnotist, and perform these acts or stunts.
And in the same way that you said that the subconscious does not understand the past and the future, one thing that I've read that I don't know if it's true is that it also does not understand negatives. Like every affirmation you have to do is in a positive way. So you cannot be like,
Mhm.
I am not afraid of spiders. I guess you cannot do that. You would have to phrase it some other way.
That is correct. Um, our subconscious mind bypasses the word no.
Hmm.
Okay, the word no isn't known to the
Okay.
subconscious mind, right? And so, and anything that's related to no, like won't or don't, um, just to give those two examples, it it's hard for the subconscious mind to capture those, right? And so when you tell somebody, and it's funny that you know that, that's one of the things that we teach in our course, is we don't use the word no, um, because what's happening is you could say, um, you will not you will not react when you see a spider, right? But when you say you will not react, the subconscious mind is eliminating the word
Right.
not. You will react when you see a spider, is what the subconscious mind actually hears, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why you always want to refrain from using the word no. And it's not so much about negatives. Obviously, we have the right intention, right? Because you will not react when you see a spider. Like, we have the right intention,
Hmm.
but the word not is being bypassed by the subconscious mind, and that person is actually picking up the
Right.
wrong message.
Right.
So what you have to say is, you you stay calm
Right.
and confident when you see a
Right.
spider,
Spiders
right?
relax
You
me. I love them. I love spiders.
spiders, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So, and this is why, another reason, if you read all of these books about meditations and about affirmations, this is why they have to be done this way, in the I am,
Right.
because that is how the subconscious mind understands.
Right. Is it important that it's exactly I am? Like, can you do I love? Or there has to be an am always?
No, 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 you don't have to do I am. I
Okay.
love, I speak the
Okay.
truth. I adore, I am joyful. So it doesn't have to be I am. You just have to speak in the present moment.
Right. Are there any
Yeah.
Go, no, go for it. Sorry.
I was just gonna give another example. Another one why people come to me is for weight loss,
Hmm.
right? And so when you're doing a hypnosis for weight loss, you don't want to say things like, you are going to, speaking in future tense, you are going to, eat an apple a day, and you will feel happy when you eat that apple. No, it's, you choose to eat an apple a day, and you feel amazing when you eat that apple, and you feel the energy that it gives you throughout your body, and that energy will then recycle and create a loophole that will continue to provide you the willpower
Hmm.
to continue eating healthy. You
Right.
see,
Yeah.
everything is in present tense. And
Exactly.
I created a loophole. And that loophole is when you eat an apple, it makes you feel good. And because it makes you feel good, it makes you want to continue eating good.
Right.
Right. So,
Right. Right.
so
Right.
these are hypnotic loopholes that you can actually put into people, so that and this is what you were asking about, is it long-term effect? If you create more loopholes like that,
Mm,
then
yeah, it's
it's
self-reinforcing.
a
Yeah.
never ending
Right.
process.
Are there any memorable stories, like someone that you've helped that was like an amazing story of someone that was struggling with something pretty big and
Yeah. I have many of them, and sometimes it's really crazy to hear the testimonials that I get, and sometimes it's hard to believe them myself. Man, I've had people that have gotten rid of chronic pain that they've had their whole life, um, back pain, leg pain, migraines, just and people come to me several months later and be like, "Hey, I did this hypnosis session with you, and like I haven't felt that pain in my back ever since." You
hmm,
know? And it's like, how crazy is that, man? Like,
yeah,
and and so like sometimes like I still like feel like how is it
yeah,
possible,
yeah,
that
yeah,
like I'm doing this. There's so many memorable stories. The testimonials are endless, especially because uh, I mainly work in groups.
right,
Um, I work with masses, and we do these retreats and stuff. And there's 150 people at a time. And I mean, I've had people, have like outer body experiences where they go and they speak to their uh their inner shaman, or their guide, their spiritual guide, or they connect with a diseased family member, and like it's and I've had people go into like past life regressions as well, which is a whole different realm, literally. Um, and so yeah, it's just insane the amount of things. And what's curious about that, and there's one thing that I want to add to this that I find really interesting, is that when I do these hypnosis on a group level, okay, it's amazing because I will do a hypnosis for, like, let's say, confidence, right? So that you can have more confidence in your life, and you can feel more positive about yourself. And so I'll give this hypnosis, and everyone hears the same words, everyone hears the same music, right? But everyone has a different experience,
hmm,
right? And that is the amazing part of it. Everybody has a different experience. Some people have visuals. They see colors and they are swirling and they're flying through some tunnel, right? Other people, they feel a sensation of energy that gets bottled up inside of them. And it's like they have this explosion where they're connected with everything around them. Other people simply hear vibrations guide them, And so when I have these group sessions afterwards, I always ask, like, does anybody want to share, what they're and some of the stuff is crazy, man. What I hear, like, of these crazy, almost like supernatural experiences. But the point that I'm trying to get to is that each one of us is an individual universe, right? With endless, boundless possibilities. And every single one of us perceives the world in a different way. Some of us are more kinesthetic, some of us are visual, some of us are auditory. We learn in different ways, right? And so when they're being guided through a hypnosis, the beautiful thing about this is that the individual is doing all of the work themselves, right?
hmm,
I'm not a guru. I'm not a shaman. I'm not a spirit guide. I'm not any of this bullshit that you see a lot in
Yeah.
Bali, for example.
Yeah.
I'm simply a guy that's serving as a guide for you to connect with your own power, right? With your subconscious mind. And you can interpret that. You can interpret, some people interpret that as God. Other people interpret that as the higher self.
Right.
Others as energy, right? Others can be in forms literally extraterrestrials, right? Whatever it may be, that's none of my business. My business is to help you connect
Right.
with your superior self so that you can do the healing yourself. I'm not actually doing the healing. You are doing the healing. You're doing the programming. You are the programmer, right? And so that's the beauty of it. And I think there's an interesting fine line that a lot of people get lost in, which is, and you see this a lot in Bali with all these like healers, for example. Anybody who call themselves a healer, like I just kind of lose respect for them because they are kind of taking credit for
Yeah.
something that you're doing,
Right.
right? And so it's their own ego that's kind of like being like, oh hey, like I help people, right? And I'm going to help you get rid of this pain, and it's because of me, right? And it's like discrediting your own power, and now you're becoming almost like codependent on this
Right.
healer because oh shit, this person helped me every time I have a problem, let me go to this problem, other
Right.
rather than this person teaching you that you can change your own beliefs, right? And you have the power, and you have done so in the past, and you can do so in the future. So yeah, I just wanted to get that part out there because I want people to understand that all the healing, all the therapeutic process that goes on is done through the individual itself,
Right. Right. Right.
right?
Right.
It's this person doing the work, and so that kind of it takes off a lot of stress off of me as a hypnotherapist because knowing that I do 20% of the work, but this my client is doing 80% of the work,
Right.
right? I'm almost just helping them create a dream inside their subconscious that's going to help them find resources, find tools, and find the wisdom necessary in order for them to make changes in their lives.
I think this leads to an interesting question, which is how, if people want to hire a hypnotherapist, how can you discern someone who's legit and someone who's not if you don't know anything about hypnotherapy?
Yeah. So one, I would say do your research, right? Um, man, yeah, I guess if a person doesn't really know about hypnosis, more likely find a professional in the area, okay? If somebody just randomly comes up to you and tells you that they can heal you and they can take that away from you, and um I would be cautious of that person, right?
Right.
Look more for the person who is willing to explain to you how hypnosis works,
Right.
why it works, right? And and that lets you know that you are your own savior, right? That you are the one going to be doing the work, and they're simply a guide. This is where you have to be careful because yeah, there's a lot of people that have lots of claims out there, and that, don't get me wrong, some of these like healers, they have helped people in general, you know, but um I think it ultimately comes down to the intention in which they do it. And intention is something that can be picked up naturally and organically, intuitively,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. The gut feeling.
Instinctively, the gut feeling. Now, I always say there's a beautiful phrase from a book called Conversations with God. I love that book. Um, my way of referring to this supernatural force out there is I simply encapsulate that into God, right? Other people might say it's a universe, other people say it's energy, whatever it may be. I
Yeah.
like to define it as God. Um, I forgot where I was going with that thought. I had something and it just kind of left my mind, slipped just now. Where was I going with that?
Um,
Conversations with God. Oh yes, I remember. And there's a nice quote that says that when we pray,
mhm.
we are communicating with God or the universe, right?
Right,
But when we feel that intuition, it's God or the universe speaking
right,
directly with
right,
us,
right,
right?
right, right.
And that's why there's like countless, endless, boundless stories of people who are like, oh, I was gonna do this, but something in my gut told me not to do
Exactly.
it. And it turns out that it was like the best decision you've ever made in your life, all because you followed your gut feeling. Every single one of us has a story like that,
Yes, yes,
right? And
100%.
why? It's because there's something that we instinctively, intuitively know without actually knowing, right?
Right,
And so what I'm trying to get at is one of the most important things in order for hypnosis to work on you, or whoever I'm working with, is that person needs to feel a connection. There needs to be some form of rapport being built between the hypnotist and the client.
right.
If you don't feel a connection, and um, this has happened to me before, where I had a client that called me, and they were very, very spiritual, not spiritual, religious,
Mhm.
right? Super highly religious. And I'm more on like the spiritual side, I talk about chakras, and like energy and all this stuff. And normally I adapt my language to that of the language of my client. If the
Yes,
person is speaking in terms of God, then I'm going to use terms of God. Speak in terms of God. If the person is using angels, then I'm going to speak in angels, right? Because I need to speak their language, right?
yeah,
And going back to the programming code, if something is built on C sharp and I'm trying to use HTML, it's not going to work. I have to program it in C sharp, right? So um, this client came to me, and I didn't know that they were extremely religious. And I mentioned the word chakra, and they were like, whoa, 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 whoa. What is that? And I was like, oh, it's like our energy points, throughout our body. And they're like, that's like sacrilegious, I don't believe. And then they disconnected from me, and they didn't
yeah,
want anything to do with me, you
yeah,
know? And so it's fine, like I
yeah,
wasn't the person to help them,
right,
and so they need to find somebody that speaks their language. And I'm perfectly, I don't take it personally. I respect everybody's belief systems, and I want this person to find the help necessary. So I actually help them find a hypnotherapist that speaks more their language, and
right,
and could help them, right? So ultimately what it comes down is like intuitively, ge- knowing that you can create a connection with this
right,
other person. That's really just the most. And second is your willingness to
hmm.
want to change,
Right,
right?
right, right.
Because there's lots of people that want to lose weight, for example, but they're and you mentioned this in all your videos, and all the physical stuff is like, losing weight is not something that is, we're so used to instant gratification, right? That you're not going to see the results in weight
Yeah,
loss for until like 2 weeks, right?
yeah,
And we want that now, like,
yeah,
and so you have to have that kind of willingness to want to
right,
change as
right,
well.
right, right. I guess this works better in person than on calls and through video calls online. No,
No,
no?
no, not necessarily. No.
Okay.
I've had people. I actually do hypnosis. I have a membership where people um uh come come and connect through Zoom, and they do hypnosis sessions with me once a month. And there's incredible stories
Okay.
just like this, because I, I believe in energy,
Hmm.
right? And there's no time and space in energy as well, right? And so right now I'm sending you good vibes, man, and I hope that you can feel them somehow,
Yeah, I
right? And I
can.
believe that there's this reciprocal connection going on. There's this synchronicity, and it's wonderful. And there no matter if I'm here and you're in Spain, it can be felt across
Right,
the world, right?
right.
So there's There's people who approach hypnosis from a very scientific point of view. That's my mom. My mom, pure science, right? Alpha, gamma, theta, brain waves,
Hmm.
sleep, REM, and all this stuff. Me, I'm a little bit more on the like the spiritual side. I talk about energy and the synchronicity and um, uh, all of these, like spiritual terms. And so that's one of the cool things about the courses that we give is we kind of give a blend of the scientific and the spiritual, where like they, in the end, they both come together
Right.
very, very naturally. And so by doing that, we get a lot of professionals. We get doctors, we get doctors that come to us that want to train, and doctors are super logical people, right? But then we also have like people who like practice acupuncture and Reiki, and
Yeah.
so we have to find a way to merge and teach these things in a way that both of these audience can connect,
Exactly.
right? And so there it goes right back to speaking the language of the subconscious mind to get your point across.
Okay, so maybe we could try it. We could see if I'm susceptible to
Yeah.
hypnosis. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm excited to see. So we have these suggestionability tests, right? Which just kind of helps a hypnotist determine how suggestible you are.
Mhm.
Okay, they're really quick. Maybe we can try one or two.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. One of the first things that I'll ask you, Pao, is how you feeling? You feeling good?
Yes.
You comfortable?
I think so. I'm a little bit nervous now, but
You're a little bit nervous. Okay. Are you having a good time on this talk?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool. All right, so here's the first thing that we're gonna do. Um, can you give yourself some space, and you actually won't need to talk
Okay.
during this, but just kind of give yourself a little bit of space so you can put your arms out like this. Okay?
Okay.
And let's see if you can get the camera. All right, perfect. All right, pal. So I want you to simply just close your eyes and take a deep breath in. Hold at the top. One, two, three, and exhale. And as you exhale, simply concentrate on the sound of my voice. That's right. Take another deep breath in. Hold at the top. One, two, three. Exhale. That's right. Just bring it out. Now I want you, pal, to just turn one of your hands over. It doesn't matter which one. Just yeah, that's right. Point it upwards. That's right. And I want you to imagine, pal, that at this point in time, I am putting these heavy books on the hand that's lifted upwards. Very heavy books. And these books contain wisdom, tools, all the things that you need in order to make positive changes in your life. And you can feel the weight of those books. And as your hand moves down, you can let that wisdom move through your hand, up your shoulder, through your neck, and integrate into your subconscious mind. That's right. Perfect. And now, on the other hand, pal, I want you to imagine that I'm tying a bunch of helium balloons that make your hand very light, and they start to rise, and you can feel the contrast between your heavy hand and your light hand. That's right. So, in a moment, I'm going to count to three, and you can open your eyes. One, two, three, open your eyes. All right. Cool.
It's crazy.
So, what does this tell me about you? You can put your hands up. So, this tells me that you are highly suggestible. I was
I thought it was
and
gonna fail because I was like super self-conscious, the fact that I'm recording myself and all of that. And as
you
soon
know
because I felt it and I was already smiling like so quick. That's so fast.
it's very quick, it's very fast.
That's
Obviously,
crazy.
like we have rapport,
Yeah.
we know each other, you feel comfortable, and it's such a simple test, right? And so what I'm looking for there, and and it's funny because I thought that you would be resistant because
Yeah.
I know you, and I know that
Yeah.
you are very, very analytical and very logical.
Hmm.
Methodical is the word to describe you. You're so methodical. And I was expecting a bit more resistance, to be honest. And so
Yeah.
there are people that when I do this, they actually, they end up, they put this hand and they end up like this, which
Yeah.
shows me that they have a little bit of resistance. But you you ended up like
Yeah.
this, right?
Yeah. I
And
was almost
so
touching the table. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and so what that tells me is that you are open, you are suggestible, and with just one or two sessions of hypnosis, like you can make some dramatic changes, with the
Yeah.
right hypnotherapist, and for you to be willing to work with whatever it is that you want to work. Um, and it's incredible, just a simple little test like that.
Yeah.
It just let's try another one.
Okay.
I'm curious. All
Yeah. I'm
right.
down.
So, all right. I want you to put your hand on the table, flat on the table.
Do I need to speak? Can I move the mic out of the way or?
No, just keep the mic. Keep the mic,
Okay.
because yeah, you can keep the mic. But I want you to just, what is that? Your right hand. Which one's your right hand?
This is my right hand.
Okay, go ahead and put it on the table.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So as we talked before, Pao, everything is about focus, right? So at this point in time, I want you to just put your focus on the palm of your hand that's on
Mm-hmm.
the table. Okay? And always look at the hand.
Okay.
Always look at the hand. From now on, you will only look at this hand. And I want you to take a deep breath in, hold at the top. 1, 2, 3, exhale. That's right, maintaining your gaze on that hand. And I want you to take another deep breath and hold it at the top. And when I count to 3, keep holding it. Keep holding it. When I count to 3, you're going to exhale. And when you exhale, I want you to imagine that your hand gets pressed more into that table. 1, 2, 3, exhale. And as you exhale, just let your hand fall. And I want you to bring your attention to the sensation of the table on your hand. Simply bring your attention to how that table feels on your hand. And now bring your attention to how your hand feels on that table. And I want you to imagine, Paul, that there is a connection being made, a strong connection, like magnets, being made between the palm of your hand and the table. And now imagine that there's a connection being made between every single finger and the table. And you feel so drawn and so connected to this table. Now, I want you to keep your gaze on your hand, and I'm going to ask you a question, pal. Let me ask you, which side do you feel more stuck? Is it your palm or your fingers?
I think it's my palm.
Your palm. That's right. Okay. I want you to imagine that your palm starts spreading a glue into your thumb, your index finger, your middle finger, your ring finger, and your pinky. And now you should feel the same sensation throughout your entire hand. And at this point in time, pal, I want you to try and lift your hand. Simply try. And it's a weird sensation, right? It's a strange sensation. You can look at me now.
Okay.
And even you can try to move your hand, and it's a weird sensation that it feels just stuck. And even though you want to move it, perhaps your fingers may have these little slight adjustments, but you feel that connection
This one I
between
was
you and the
able to.
table. This one you were able to?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. You got
Okay.
me there.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did it feel in the initial beginning?
Hmm.
Because I asked you a
Yeah.
question and I said which one feels more stuck, and you said the palm.
Yeah. It did feel like it, and then when you started to say the glue thing, I started to feel like these fingers were glued and all of that. But then when you said like, okay, try to lift it, I just could.
Okay.
So I had the
Yeah.
feeling of
Okay.
being stuck, but once I was like, okay, try to lift it, I was able to.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So there was probably a little bit of you wanted to challenge yourself, which
Could
was
be.
like, well, yeah, let me see if I can actually lift this, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people in this case, like, when they go in with that mindset,
Hmm.
it's a bit more challenging, right?
Right.
Because now you're testing yourself other than allowing yourself to
Hmm.
flow. Does
Right.
that make
Right.
sense?
Right. Right. Yeah.
And so it's interesting. I wanted to try this because yeah, there's lots of people that just like you, um, they say, okay, let me lift my hand. When my instructions, if you heard my instructions are try to
Oh,
lift the
try.
hand.
Okay.
Now, try doesn't mean do.
Right.
Try means to try, but
Hmm.
nothing is actually happening when you try,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
Like the
Right.
good old Yoda saying is
Yeah.
try, what is it? Try, not do, or
The
no, do,
opposite. Do
do,
but
do,
not
don't
try.
try,
Yeah.
do, but not try. So
Exactly.
it's funny because hypnosis itself is a game of words.
Hmm.
Okay, it's all a game of words, and I'm gonna break this down to you because it's very interesting. When I am telling you that your hand feels a connection between the table, I'm bringing your attention to the hand and the sensation of the table on your hand, right? And then I do something very tricky, right? Which is that question that I ask you. And this is what hypnotists call a convincer. Okay. It's when I ask you, what do you feel more stuck, your palm or your fingers? Now, what I'm doing there is I'm giving you a choice of illusion, an illusion of choice. Okay. It's simply an illusion where I'm trying to convince you, right, that your hand is feeling stuck on this table.
Right. Right.
And,
Right.
right? And so by you replying the poem, I know I've got you,
Right.
right? I know
You're
that you're feeling,
you're already
I know
agreeing
that
to the fact that the hand is stuck
you're
there.
already agreeing, right? And
Yeah.
so it's a game of words, right? And so once you tell me my poem, all I have to do is now continue to use that imagination
Hmm.
into spreading that glue throughout your whole fingers, right? And so you said that you felt that,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so maybe what I could have done here is I could have extended it a bit more and emphasized the fact that your hand is more stuck, more stuck, more stuck,
Yes.
to the point where, like, if I would have emphasized it a bit more, then you would have felt a little bit more resistance to lifting the hand, right?
Right.
So it's that's exactly how hypnosis works, right? It's all a game of words and choosing the right words. And there are several techniques such as the illusion of choice,
Hmm.
right? Where you can tell the person you can feel more relaxed now, or you can do it in 1 minute, right? So you're letting that person decide,
Hmm.
okay, well, all right, I'm just going to relax now. And if I'm not relaxed now, okay, I'll do it in 1 minute, right? But you're telling them you're going to get relaxed either way,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And then there are those loopholes that I was talking about. There are what are called post hypnotic suggestions. Post hypnotic suggestions are suggestions that you will utilize after this hypnosis session is over. Like the loop that I told you about, from now on, every time you eat an apple, you feel great about yourself. And by feeling great about yourself, you continue to want to eat healthier,
Right.
right? To continue eating healthy. And so um, there's lots of little tips and neat tricks that you can do, but it's all there. There's three things that correlate into being a great hypnotist: confidence, congruence, and conviction. Confidence, obviously, you have to believe in yourself, knowing that you can help this person. Congruence is that your physiology and the words that you say are in alignment, right? And conviction, which is your intention to want to help this person. If all those three things are in alignment, you have a magical recipe for
Right.
creating everlasting change within people.
Right. Okay, man, that's awesome. Thank you so much for the explanation, being here, and everything. If people want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, they can reach me out on Instagram. It's Hermes.Noguera. And yeah, just follow me there. I post about all of the events that I do. I run these retreats. I do lots of things in Spanish. I do them in English as well. So if anybody's just interested in reaching out, just send me a DM and I'd be happy to connect.
Okay, I'll put the link in the pinned comment.
Cool,
Okay,
man.
thank you
Yeah.
very much,
Thank
man.
you for having me, man. It's been lots of fun, and yeah, I look forward to seeing all of the new material that you come out with.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Much love, brother.